Breaking, January 20th. Keir Starmer approves the largest Chinese embassy in Europe. January 27th. He's in Beijing, shaking hands with Xi Jinping. January 30th. Donald Trump calls it very dangerous. 9 days, 3 decisions, 1 timeline that's raising serious questions about Britain's relationship with China. Let me show you what happened, and you can decide if this was diplomacy or something else entirely. Here's what we know. On January 17th, Kemi Badenoch stood at a protest in London. Thousands gathered outside the former Royal Mint building. Their message? This Chinese embassy shouldn't be approved. Too big, too risky. A potential security nightmare. Kemi went further. She called Starmer weak on China. Said he wouldn't stand up to Beijing. Said this 208-room complex was a spy hub waiting to happen. She said it publicly, on camera, with witnesses. If you're wondering where this is heading, hit subscribe now because Wednesday's Prime Minister's Questions is going to be explosive, and I'm breaking down every second. 3 days later, January 20th, Starmer's government approved it anyway. The Chinese mega embassy got the green light. 208 rooms in central London, the largest Chinese diplomatic facility in Europe. Despite the protests, despite the warnings, despite Kemi's direct challenge. Then, 7 days after that approval, Starmer boards a plane to Beijing. First British Prime Minister to visit China in 8 years. He sits down with Xi Jinping for 80 minutes, double the scheduled time. They sign cooperation agreements. Cameras flash, handshakes all around. China announces visa-free travel for British tourists. Whiskey tariff cuts, climate partnerships, trade discussions. Starmer calls it a diplomatic breakthrough. But here's the problem. While Starmer's still in Shanghai, extending his victory lap, Donald Trump gets asked a question by reporters. What do you think about the UK doing business with China? Trump's answer? Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that. Not concerning. Not we have questions. Dangerous. Now look at those dates again. January 17th. Kemi warns Starmer he's too weak on China. January 20th. Embassy approved. January 27th. Starmer flies to Beijing. January 30th. Trump calls it dangerous. That's not coincidence. That's a sequence. And sequences tell stories. So what did China actually get from this deal? First, the embassy itself, a 208-room intelligence goldmine in the heart of London. This isn't just about diplomats having office space. This is about operational infrastructure. Think about what happens inside a facility that large. Cultural attachés, who are actually intelligence officers. Trade representatives running influence operations. Technology officers identifying British companies to target. Security personnel conducting surveillance on Chinese dissidents in the UK. And because it's a diplomatic facility, it has protections. British authorities can't just walk in, can't install monitoring equipment, can't access communications. This building operates as sovereign Chinese territory in the middle of London. British security services have been clear. A facility this large, they can't monitor everything. Complete oversight? Impossible. But China got something even more valuable. They got proof that Keir Starmer will approve controversial projects despite security warnings, that he'll ignore his own opposition leader, that he'll greenlight what intelligence agencies flag as risky. Think about what that signals to Beijing. If he'll do this, what else will he approve when pressure's applied? And third, they drove a wedge between Britain and America. Starmer goes to China. Trump publicly calls it dangerous. The special relationship takes a hit. Britain looks isolated. America questions our judgment. Who wins when Britain and America are distant? China. So China got the embassy. They got a leader they can read. And they cracked the UK-US alliance. That's a strategic jackpot. Now, what did Britain get? Visa-free travel for British tourists visiting China. Sounds impressive. Until you realise France, Germany, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, and dozens of other countries already have this. We're not special. We're late to the party. Whiskey tariff reductions. Export duties cut from 10% to 5%. OK, Scottish distillers save some money. The Scotch Whisky Association estimates this could be worth tens of millions annually. But is that worth approving a potential spy hub? Is that worth Trump questioning your judgment on the world stage? Some vague cooperation agreements on climate and trade. The kind of diplomatic language that sounds important, but commits to nothing specific. Both sides agreed to explore opportunities for enhanced collaboration. What does that mean in practice? Nobody knows. And a photo op. 80 minutes with Xi Jinping. Pictures for the press. Headlines about being a serious world leader. That's the trade. A massive embassy with intelligence concerns for visa-free travel everyone else already has. A tariff cut and some vague promises. Does that math work for you? Here's where it gets really interesting. Donald Trump has access to intelligence briefings we don't see. CIA reports, NSA intercepts, Five Eyes intelligence sharing with the UK. He knows what was said in those private meetings between Starmer and Xi. He knows what British intelligence flagged about this embassy. He knows things that won't be declassified for decades. And he chose to go public with a warning. Not a private diplomatic cable, not a quiet phone call. Public, on camera, while Starmer was still standing on Chinese soil. That's not normal diplomacy. That's a deliberate message. When Trump uses the word dangerous, he's using intelligence community language. Dangerous means compromised. Dangerous means threat level elevated. Dangerous means we're watching and we don't like what we're seeing. And he said it while Starmer was still in China because he wanted multiple audiences to hear it. He wanted the American public to know Britain made a questionable call. He wanted Xi Jinping to know we see what you're doing. And he wanted Starmer to know there are consequences for this. Trump didn't wait until Starmer got home. He didn't wait for a formal press conference. He was asked a question at a documentary premiere and dropped the word dangerous like a bomb. That's not off the cuff. That's calculated. That's sending a message in real time for maximum humiliation. So now we get to Wednesday. Prime Minister's questions, noon. Kemi Badenoch walks into the House of Commons for the first time since Trump's warning went public. For the first time since this timeline became impossible to ignore. And she's got questions Starmer doesn't want to answer. Why did you approve the embassy 3 days after I warned you not to? Was that approval connected to getting the Beijing meeting that followed 9 days later? What exactly did Britain get that was worth approving a facility with intelligence concerns and damaging our relationship with America? Why did the President of the United States call your trip dangerous? Here's Starmer's problem. Every answer creates another question. If he admits the embassy approval was connected to the China trip, he's admitting he traded British security for a photo opportunity. If he denies any connection, he has to explain the timing. Pure coincidence that you approved it on the 20th and flew there on the 27th? If he defends the trip as successful, he has to explain why our closest ally publicly questioned it, why Trump called it dangerous. And here's the kicker. His own Labour MPs aren't going to help him. They're already planning what comes after him. They're already distancing themselves. They've given up on the February by-election. They're using phrases like the gaffer instead of our Prime Minister. When Kemi asks these questions Wednesday, his benches will be silent. No cheering, no defending, just watching to see if he can save himself. Did Keir Starmer sell Britain to China? I'm not saying he did, but the timeline raises questions he needs to answer. The dates are facts. The sequence is documented. The security concerns are real. Trump's warning is on record. And on Wednesday at noon, he's going to have to explain all of it. Subscribe right now because Wednesday's PMQ's breakdown is going to reveal exactly how he handles this. I'll have the full analysis posted within 2 hours of it ending. Every question Kemi asks, every answer Starmer gives, every reaction from the benches. This is the political moment everyone's going to be talking about. Don't miss it because you didn't click subscribe. The timeline doesn't lie. Let's see if Starmer can explain it. I'll see you Wednesday.